motherfucking Balco. On deck is Rosa McKenzie, but come to the stage right now. Make it loud for E1. Oh, yeah, E1.
Hey, what's up, you guys? Woo! Yeah, I went to Mount Baldy this past weekend. It was pretty cool. And, I learned that it wasn't always called Mount Baldy. Yeah, back in when the mountain was more younger and more hopeful, it was known as Mount Rogaine. Hey, you guys ever play doctor when you were kids? And when I was in kindergarten, I was playing doctor with one of my classmates. It was all fun until she started playing proctologist. And somebody told me that if you scratch your head, it makes you go bald. But I don't think that's true, because my balls are still hairy as hell. And one of my friends, he's white. He's like super duper white. I think he's like part albino or something. Yeah, he's so white when he comes to my house, all my plants start growing in his direction. Yeah, that's pretty white.
Yeah.
Yeah, whenever I have sex, I never last as long as I'd like to, I'm always like, come on, penis, hang in there. And it's always like, screw this.
Okay.
Hey, I used to go to water parks every summer, but then one summer I had a fairly traumatic experience happen, so I stopped going. That was when I was 16. I was waiting in line on these stairs to go up to this water slide, and I look up, and the girl in front of me, she's about the same age, but her boobs are like right in my face, Nice. And it's kind of like cold and windy, so her nipples are like popping out. So I was like, oh, okay, so I turned, but then this girl here, her face is like right in my junk, And like I already got a partial woody going on, right? But then she yawns, I'm like, oh my God, right? And I'm like, bing, So I'm like, I gotta get out of here and shit. So I just ran up the stairs past everyone. And then apparently this is pretty common at Raging Waters, right? Because the lifeguard was like, come on, just go, right? And so I got on the slide, I got out of there, and I was like, man, they really need to rename this place. They should call it Raging Boners. And why didn't the oyster share his food?
Why?
He's shellfish. Alright, there's a sailor, right? And he gets hired aboard this ship. And they're out to sea for about 6 months. And then he's talking to his buddies like, hey, when are we going to go back into port? I'm getting kind of horny out here. He's like, oh no, we're not going back to port for another 6 months. He's like, what? I can't wait that long. He's like, well, have you tried the barrel? He's like, no, what's that? So he takes him to this room, and there's a barrel in there, and a little hole in it. He's like, well, there you go. And so he tries it out, right? He's like fucking the barrel, and it works really well, He's like, wow, this is awesome, right? So he's talking to the buddy later. He's like, yeah, that was great, He's like, man, I'm going to use that barrel every day. He's like, well, every day except for Sunday, right? And he's like, oh, you can't use it on Sunday? He's like, well, you can, but Sunday's your day in the barrel, so. Right, what do you call a guy that can make a business suit real fast?
What?
Taylor Swift. I think Pride Month could use a mascot. And I got the perfect one. The flamingo. Yeah, it's got pink feathers. They love to dance. And they're like a non-predatory, peaceful type of bird, They only eat like brine shrimp and algae. And nobody cares about brine shrimp. And you know what a group of flamingos is called? They're not called a flock. No, they're called a flamboyance. Yeah, right? How gay is that, right? And even the name flamingo is flaming O. Yeah, flaming O. That's a burning butthole. And a lot of times when a guy brags about how big his dick is, it's usually the opposite, right? It's usually really small. Yeah, I was talking to this guy the other day, he was like, oh yeah, man, my dick is so big, I'm hung like a horse. I was like, psh, yeah, like a seahorse. Yeah, I think Shaquille O'Neal is like the happiest man on earth. He's always so jolly, and everyone just loves him, right? I think because he's never been bullied. Yeah, how you gonna mess with someone that's so tall that his crotch is in your face? And it's like, hey Shaq, give me your lunch money. Never mind. Yeah, the thing about if you're a lady and if you're alone in the woods, would you rather run into a bear or a strange man? And a lot of women are choosing the bear, right? I think that's just ignorance of bear knowledge. Because I ran into a bear alone in the woods once. Yeah. And he fucked the shit out of me. Alright, I'll leave it last one. You know, comedians will always tell you two things, right? They always tell you when they just get booked on a show, and they always tell you when they just had sex. That's a bit juvenile, right? Like myself, I haven't been booked on a show in over a month. But I did get laid last week, so whoa. My name's Ewan Owen, my name, thank you.
Yeah! Keep it going for Ewan. Ewan, what happened?
It's too
I
hot.
3 weeks ago, you were like in a suit, all like.
It is too hot.
You
for
look
that.
like you had a big boy job, and now you look like you're one bad decision away from Squid Games. All right, guys.